know exactly. I don't know how to share my screen on Zoom. I'm not really used to using it. Any idea about that?
Okay, I think you can share it now. I've given you the access.
Okay, yeah, I can see. Okay, perfect. So yeah, hello everyone. I'm going to give you today a quick introduction about Taquito. So we are just going to discuss what Taquito is and how you can use it, like some basic features of Taquito. And after that, we're going to do a very quick live coding example, so you can see how to integrate Taquito into your application and use it with the Tezos blockchain. So I'm just going to start with the presentation, and maybe after that we can take some time if you have some questions about it, and then I can show you some code for the application. Okay, so let me share my screen 1 second. Where is it? Yeah, I'm sorry, it's just going to take 1 minute. It's asking me to update some preferences. I'm going to share my screen just 1 minute. Let's see if that worked. Okay. Let's do this one. Okay, I think you can see it.
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Okay, so let's start about, okay, it doesn't, okay. Okay, so the first step is to explain what Taquito is. So I don't know if maybe some of you are already familiar with the library. So Taquito is okay, I have to click. Okay, so Taquito is a JavaScript library that you can use to interact with the Tezos blockchain. It's a library that you're going to be able to install and use in every JavaScript application that that you're developing. And so the Taquito has different features that you're going to be able to use in your application. And so here I put 4 of the main features of Taquito and what they're going to allow you to do with your application. So the first feature of Taquito is that it's going to allow you to read general data from the blockchain. So after this introduction, I'm going to show you some examples of what I mean. But Taquito is going to make it very easy for you to get data from the blockchain that you may need in your application. The second feature of Taquito is that in addition of allowing you to read general data about the Tezos blockchain, it's also going to allow you to read data from smart contracts. I don't know how familiar you are with the Tezos blockchain, but Tezos is that kind of blockchain where you can also have smart contracts that are basically like little programs that you can run on the blockchain to handle different kind of transactions. And this program will have a storage, and Taquito is going to allow you to read that storage and to interact in different ways with the smart contracts on the blockchain. So that's the third feature. The third feature of Taquito is that you're going to be able to send transactions to the smart contracts on the blockchain. So Taquito is going to make it very easy, like incredibly easy for you to send a transaction to a smart contract. Like it literally takes 1 line of code to send a transaction. So under the hood, Taquito is going to format the parameter properly and forge the transaction for you, and you don't have to do anything. You just have to write that one line, and then Taquito is going to take care of everything. And the fourth main feature of Taquito is that it's also going to provide you different tooling solutions that you can use with Tezos-specific data. So these tools can be about formatting data or validating data that are specific to the Tezos blockchain. We're going to see some examples a little bit later. So talking about examples, we're going to start and see a little bit how Taquito works. So the first step that you would like, that you're going to take is to install Taquito. As I said, it's a JavaScript library, so you can install it through npm, like any other JavaScript libraries that you're probably working with. Taquito is actually different packages, but there is a main package that's called @taquito/taquito that you have to install to interact with the Tezos blockchain. So you can install it using the command npm install. We also provide CDN alternative on unpackage.com. So you can just use the link, the second link on the slide. And with that link, you can actually use Taquito in a non-Node.js application. So even in a simple HTML page, you can import the library in a script tag and you can use it. Once you install the Taquito, it's very easy to import it. So the library is going to expose a class that's called Tezos Toolkit that you just need to import. And then you instantiate the class by calling it. And the only parameter that it's going to accept is the address of the node you want to interact with. So the idea is that in order to read or to interact with the Tezos blockchain, you will have to go through a node. And there are different nodes that are available, that are publicly available, that you can use. And you just have to pass the URL of that node to the Tezos toolkit to create a new instance of Taquito. And that's it. Now you can start using Taquito. Okay, so the first feature that we introduced a little bit earlier was reading data from the blockchain with Taquito. So the Tezos blockchain is going to expose different, actually the node is going to expose different data that you may want to read and have access to. For example, you would like to know the current block level. So that's something that's going to be very easy to get with Taquito. So from the instance of the Tezos toolkit that we created in the previous slide, you can just use a property that's called RPC, and that property has a method that's called getBlockHeader. And when you call that method, you're going to have access to different data about the block header, and one of them is level. So it's a property of the block header, and you can just read it and have access to it easily with Taquito. Second example would be to have access to the block head. So it's the latest block that was baked on the blockchain, and still the same. You can use the RPC property that has another method that's called getBlock, and then there you can get many information about that block. So for example, the transactions that are in the block, or the endorsements, or different type of data that are stored in the block. And the last example would be probably one of the most useful that you're going to use in your applications, is getting the balance of an account or a contract. So contracts can also hold the balance, and there are some cases where you would like to know how many TES are in a contract or in an account. And as you can see with Taquito, it's very easy. It just takes one line of code to get that balance. So once again, use that Tezos singleton that we created earlier. And there's a property called TZ, and there you can call the get balance method with the address of the account or the contract that you want to get
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so sorry to interrupt. I think there are a few students who are waiting in the waiting room. Can you let them in?
I'm not really sure how to do that. Just give me.
I think if you click on the participants, you can get a list of people.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't hear you. Sorry.
I think if you click on participants on the bottom of your screen, you can get a list of people who are in the waiting room.
Where is it now? You don't see my screen anymore, right?
No, we can't see.
Where is it? Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not really used with Zoom. I think I see participants.
Okay, I'll just do it 1 second.
Yeah, I found the participants.
Okay, they're joining.
Well,
I'll just give you the host access again.
just let me know when it's good.
Yeah, you can share your screen now. I'm so sorry for the interruption.
Okay, yeah, no problem. Which one is here? Okay. Where was I? Oh yeah, so the sharing of the balance. Yeah, so you just need that method that's called get balance, and you're going to get the amount of tests that the account or the contract is holding. Yeah. The second feature that I introduced a little bit earlier about Taquito is that it's going to help you read data from smart contracts. So the whole idea of Taquito is that to make it very easy for developers to have access to different data without like even thinking about it. Like having access to data from a smart contract with Taquito is going to be really easy, and it's going to hide all the complexity and the abstraction of the Tezos blockchain and make it easy for you and to have access to all this data and interact with the blockchain. So for example, if you have a smart contract and you want to read some data from its storage, the first step would be to create what we call a contract abstraction. So it's basically just a JavaScript object that's going to hold different properties and methods that you can use and that represent the contract on chain. So to create that abstraction, you use that Tezos singleton that we created earlier, and has a property that's going to be, so if you're building a front-end app, it's probably going to be wallet, and if you're building a back-end app, it's probably going to be contract. And whether it's wallet or contract, this property is going to have a method that's called add, and you can just pass the address of the contract that you want to read data from. And that's it. Now you're going to get an object, and the storage is going to be represented in that object. So all the properties of the storage are just going to be regular JavaScript properties. So you can read them very easily. So first, if you want to get specifically the storage for the contract. There's a storage method on the contract abstraction that you have to call. And now you just have the storage of the contract. And let's imagine you have a token contract and you would like to know the total supply for the token. And in general, that total supply in the contract is going to be stored in a property called total underscore supply. And it's going to be exactly the same name on the storage on the Taquito side. So you can just use that property. And in general, numeric values from smart contracts in Taquito are going to be formatted as big number. So you have to call another method, the toNumber method, to format it properly for JavaScript. And then you can use it and manipulate it in any way you like. And so that's going to be true for every property of the contract, except probably for big maps, because they're a little bit different. But still, Taquito is going to make it very easy for you to access and to find data in big maps. So in the same way, imagine you have a token contract and there's probably a big map that's called ledger in it. And if you want to get a value from that big map, you just have to use the get method that Taquito exposes on every big map from contract storage. And you just pass the key of the key that you're looking for in the contract. And Taquito is going to return the value that's associated with that key. So for example, in a ledger big map, the key would be the user address, and it's going to return the balance for that contract. So as you can see, Taquito is making it very easy for you to get the storage from a contract, and also to search for values in big maps. So you can still like reason. You can still see it like, you can still think about it like a JavaScript developer, and yeah, everything is already there for you, and you don't have to learn something new. I mean, it's just like properties and method, and you already know how to use that. Okay, yeah, the third feature of Taquito that's going to be really interesting is sending transactions to smart contracts. So it's probably one of the features that beginners are always eager to play with, because it's always very exciting to update the storage of a contract and send transactions. And once again, Taquito is going to make it very easy for you to do that, to create, to forge transactions and send them to contracts. So once again, you just need that contract abstraction that we created earlier by calling the wallet property and the @method on that property with the contract address, with the address of the contract that you want to interact with. And every entry point of the contract is going to be mapped by Taquito, so you don't have to take care of it. It's already there. The contract abstraction has a property called methods, and in that property you're going to have all the entry points of the contract by name. So it's exactly the same name like on chain, and you just need to call that entry point like any regular method in JavaScript. And most likely the entry point is going to take a parameter. So you just pass the parameter, and that's going to return a different object with the method that's called send. And when you call send, it's going to return a new operation, and that's it. So as you can see, it's just one line of code, and you send a transaction to a contract. So it's very easy to do it. I don't know if any of you is going to play with the Tezos client, but if you try to forge an operation yourself, it's a little bit more complex. And Taquito is going to abstract that complexity and just make it one line for you, and it's very easy to send a transaction to a contract. At the same time, Taquito is going to return an operation object with different properties and method that you can also use. So for example, you can get the operation hash. So that's always something interesting if you want to check the operation in an indexer. You can use the hash that Taquito is going to return. And there's also a method that's called confirmation that you can call. And this method returns a promise, and it's going to wait for any number of confirmations from the blockchain before resolving. So if you call it without any argument, it's just going to wait for one confirmation, but you can pass another numeric argument. If you pass like 10, it's going to wait for 10 confirmations before resolving. So you can wait for confirmations from the blockchain to be sure that the operation has been included in the block. So there are like different tools that you can use to send transactions to smart contracts, but also to make sure that the transactions have been baked, or even to catch transactions that have failed. So there are a lot of things that you can do with Taquito and transactions on the Tezos blockchain. And I think it's going to be the last feature. Yeah, okay. So the last one is the tooling solution. So Taquito is going to give you different tools that you can use, and those tools are related to the Tezos blockchain. So most of them are in a different package that's called utils that you can also install through NPM. And so it would be a little bit too long to make a list of all the tools that are in this package, but probably the two most important tools that you're going to use is the ones to validate addresses. So there are two methods that you can use: validate address and validate contract address. And for example, let's imagine you have an application and you let your users provide like account addresses, and you're going to look for those addresses on chain. You would like to sanitize them. You would like to make sure that the addresses that are passed are valid Tezos addresses, and you can use validate address and pass the address that the user provided to make sure that there are proper Tezos addresses. So that's going to be really interesting to sanitize input from users. And the second one is they are, above all, if you're using AFA2 token contracts, it happens sometimes that you have to work with bytes from the contract. And just to make it easier for you, Taquito provides two methods, so bytes to char and char to bytes, to convert strings to bytes and vice versa. So you can use it if you need to pass, for example, bytes as a parameter to a contract entry point, or if you're reading a value from a big map that's stored as bytes, then you can use bytes to char just to convert it to a string. And the last thing, so this one is not part of the utils package, but it's also one of the tools that Taquito provides. You can also use Taquito to originate contracts. So if you have the code of the contract, you can use that originate method that also exists on the wallet property of the Tezos singleton. And you can pass a default storage, so that's the storage that the contract is going to be created with, and that's it. You're going to effectively create, originate a new contract on the Tezos blockchain. You just need the code and the storage, and that's it. Taquito is going to take care of originating the contract for you. And it's also going, of course, to return the address of the new contract. So that's something that you can get after the origination. Okay, so one one of the good things about Taquito is that it works with the different other tools on in the Tezos ecosystem. So you probably heard about the Beacon wallet, and Taquito is going to integrate it, and it's going to let you use it to sign transactions. So there's a different package that you can use that's called Beacon Wallet, which is basically just a wrapper for the Beacon SDK. But everything is already prepared for you just to plug it in into Taquito, and you don't have to figure out how to use the Beacon SDK with Taquito. You can just import the Beacon wallet and use it directly. So it's going to be a lot easier to use that package. And once again, you just have to import the Tezos toolkit from the Taquito library, the Beacon wallet from the Beacon wallet library, and just like before, you create a Tezos singleton with the Tezos toolkit class, and the Beacon wallet is also a class that you can instantiate, and you pass some options. So we're going to see during the live coding what kind of options you can pass to the Beacon wallet. And once you created the instance of the Tezos toolkit and the new wallet, you just pass the wallet to a method that's called set wallet provider, and that's it. From now on, Taquito is going to use the wallet that you the instance of the wallet that you passed as an argument to sign transactions. So maybe you've already seen that if you use dapps on Tezos, but that means that when a user is going to connect their wallet, they're going to have a little pop-up that shows, and they're going to be able to choose different among different wallets, like of course Tempo wallet and Kukai and that kind of wallet. And that's exactly what you're doing here. You're going to set up your app to let the users decide what kind of wallet they want to use among the selection of wallets that work with Beacon. Also, most of the examples that you're going to see of the use of Taquito is going to be in front-end apps, and it's true that there are a lot of them, a lot of front-end apps that work with Taquito, but it's also possible to use Taquito in the backend with Node.js, and it's going to work a little bit differently because there's some. It's not the same environment like the browser. So there are going to be some libraries that not going to work properly, and some things that you cannot do in the backend. Like for example, using a wallet, like you cannot physically click on the wallet when it happens when the signing happens in the backend. So you need a different solution. And Taquito also has a library that's called Signer, and you can import it. There's a class that's called in-memory Signer. And you just need to create a new instance of that class, and you provide it with a private key. So the private key is in the backend, so it's more or less safe, to keep your private key in the backend. It's not exposed, so you can use it here, and then you can pass that signer as a parameter to set signer provider. And that's it. From now on, Taquito is going to use this private key to sign transactions in the backend. And you can use exactly the same steps like the ones we saw, for example, to send transactions to a contract, if you want to do it from the backend. So it's going to work exactly the same. And Taquito is going to be aware that you want to use the in-memory signer to sign transactions. So it's also possible to use Taquito in the front end and in the back end. There are also so here I just wanted to show some basic uses of Taquito. So reading data and sending transactions, and it's probably what you're going to use the most as a front-end developer. But there are also some more advanced uses of Taquito that you can do. So we're trying to adapt to the evolution of the ecosystem and to provide new solutions for new features of the Tezos blockchain. So for example, one of them is going to be support for TZIP12 and TZIP16, which are standards that have been proposed for the Tezos blockchain. So TZIP12 is token standard. TZIP16 is more to introduce some metadata to contracts, and it's going to be possible to use Taquito to interact with contracts that follow these standards. So for example, so here I made it like a little bit simpler regarding the code because it's a little bit more complex to set it up. But just to give you an idea about how it works, there's once you have your contract abstraction, you can use a TZIP12 method on it, and that method is going to expose another one that's called get token metadata. So in the contract, there's going to be a big map that's going to register and save the metadata that are associated with every token. And you can, of course, you can just use Taquito in a normal way to get values from big maps and try to figure out how to get the metadata for the token you're interested in. But there's also a solution like that where you don't have to figure out anything. You can just use get token metadata and you pass the token ID. So for example, here the token ID is 0, and it's going to return the token metadata that are in the token metadata big map in the contract for the token ID 0. So it's going to make it a lot easier for you if you need the metadata in your application. And it's going to be the same thing for the contract metadata. You can call the TZIP16 method, and then there's another method that's called get metadata, and it's just there's going to be if the contract is a TZIP16 follows the TZIP16 standard, there's going to be a metadata big map. So Taquito is going to look for it, and it's going to return the metadata for you. It's also possible to estimate operations. So there are various cases where you would like to estimate the cost of an operation before asking your users to sign it. So it's possible to do it with Taquito. You just use the name of the entry point on the method's property, and instead of sending it like we saw earlier, you call a different method that's called toTransferParams, and it's going to return an estimate of different fees that are associated with the operations. For example, the gas limit, storage limit, that kind of fee. So it's possible to get it, and with this data, you can then for example, you can add a little bit more on the gas limit, if you want to make sure that the operation is going to be baked, or you can do different kind of operations on it before signing the transaction and sending it. And a third advanced feature of Taquito is also signing data. So there are different use cases where you would like to sign data. So you would like to forge a signature, a valid Tezos signature. So this one too, I tried to sum it up a little bit because there are different things that you have to do to get the signature. But basically, to create a signature, you will have to create an object for the payload with different properties, and then the wallet, the instance of the wallet that you created has a property called client, and on that property you call the request signed payload method. You pass the payload, and it's going to return, among other data, signature. So once again, it's going to be very easy to get that signature, and it's a valid Tezos signature, and you don't have to like interact with a Tezos node or something to get a signature. You can do it within Taquito. So there are like different advanced uses of Taquito. So it's a very versatile library, and you can do a lot of different things related to the Tezos blockchain. And that was it for the presentation of Taquito. So yeah, I think I'm going to take some questions. I will stop the screen sharing because I don't know if you ask questions outside of that. Okay, let me just give me 1 second to figure out how to stop the screen sharing. Okay. Okay, so if there are any questions about it, about Taquito. No, there are no questions, or I don't hear you.
Guys, is there any questions that we need to address?
Yeah, one question. Yeah, one question. Like for the keto, is there any, let's say, tutorial video of using it? Like apart from what you explained, like it's application in a code with certain examples and seeing the final result. Like, is there any video available, like tutorial video available for it? In case.
I don't. No, I don't think that. Oh, you mean like a coding example of writing an
Yeah.
application with Taquito? No, I don't think there's something like that. So
Okay.
we have documentation with different examples,
Right.
if you would like, but I don't think there's like coding example of I mean in video of writing an application. I'm going to show you a little bit how it looks like just after the questions, but I don't think there's something there's a video that you can watch.
Right.
Okay. Well, if there are no other questions, I'm going to.
Yeah, I had a question. So if we were to use Taquito with any declarative UI framework like React or Vue, say for example, are there any wrappers for that, or do we have to like use basic the Taquito library that you just showed?
Yes, exactly. So that there's no specific wrapper for frameworks, and because Taquito doesn't expose any UI elements, so it's not really necessary. You can just import the library and use it directly, whether you're using a framework or just vanilla JavaScript. It doesn't matter. It works the same.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks.
Okay.
Hello, I have a question.
Yeah.
Like if I'm making a front-end application using Taquito, so what should be the good idea? Like creating a global instance of Tezos toolkit, or creating a global instance of wallet to make like we will have a button called connect to wallet. So
I think it's going to depend. So if you're using a framework like React, in general, the frameworks have some way to keep the state of the application. So for example, on React, you would use if I'm not mistaken, it's the context API. So you would try to hold some state of the app, and that's where you would keep the Tezos singleton. So when the app mounts, you would instantiate it, and then you would keep it there, and you would be able to access it from different components of your application. And it's going to be the same one. You don't have to recreate a new one every time. You just need to have one that that you can keep in the state of your application.
Okay.
And then for the wallet, you don't really need to keep track of it. For the wallet, you can just create an instance of the wallet, and then you just have to pass it to the Tezos toolkit, and then the Tezos toolkit is going to handle it. So the wallet's not really important if you keep track of it. It's just for the Tezos toolkit. Any other questions? Okay. So if there are no other questions, I'm just going to show you quickly a little bit of code so you can have a better idea about how to integrate Taquito in your application. So I'm a big Svelte fan, so I'm going to show you a Svelte application, but the logic of the framework is a lot similar to React. So you're going to understand very quickly how it works, and you're going to have a good idea about how to integrate Taquito and how to make it work in an application. So we're going to do something very simple. I created a template for a Svelte application with Taquito that's available on GitHub. And so I'm just going to tweak the template a little bit, and we're going to send a transaction to a contract, and you're going to see how easy it is to send a transaction, to forge a transaction and send it. Let me share my screen again. Which one is it? Okay, I think it's this one. Yeah, I had to restart my computer, so it's not running. Okay, so I created a contract that's now on Granada.net. Okay, it's going to be a little bit. So it's this contract. So it's a contract that we use internally with Taquito to test different parameters and different functionalities. So the storage is pretty simple. You have different kind of values. We're going to try to update this value. It's called simple. So you see there's a 4, and there's an entry point on the contract. Which one is it? This one, the simple param. So you just provide a number, and it's going to add that number to the number that's already in the storage, and it's going to store that new number in the simple properly. So it's not running now.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can only see a VS Code screen. Like,
Oh,
I think you share only a single window.
which one do you see?
Your VS Code right now, it's the third tab.
Oh yeah, because I have it into. Oh, okay. Wait a second. Yeah, I have the feeling that Zoom doesn't like. Yeah, because I'm sharing the screen between VS Code and was it that? Do you see both now, the VS Code and the browser?
It's black for me. I don't know about others.
Yes, same here. It's black.
Like there's a
Yeah,
split
it's
screen.
black.
Black.
Check. Yeah, maybe what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the code first, and then I'm going to show you the browser, because I have the thing that Zoom doesn't pick it up. Yeah, here you probably just see the browser, no?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let's do it like that. Just give me a second. I think it should be this one. Okay. Okay, I think I'm just going to show you the code first, and then we're going to look at it in the browser, and hopefully it's going to work properly. Yeah. Okay, so that's a very basic Svelte app. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Svelte, but the idea is that every component is going to hold the JavaScript, the CSS, and the HTML. So here you have the JavaScript first. You have some CSS here. It's actually SCSS. And then you have the HTML here. So everything is in the same component, but the logic is going to be very similar to other frameworks. Yeah, so when the app mounts, what you would like to do is, as we saw here, so as you can see, we imported Taquito here and the Beacon wallet. And when the app mounts, you're going to create a new instance of the Tezos toolkit just once. So we're going to keep the Tezos singleton in the state of the component here. And here you see we have the RPC URL. So it's the ECAD lab node that we're going to use to communicate with the Tezos blockchain. So on mount, we're also going to create a new instance of the wallet. So not because we want the users to be prompted with the with that pop-up to connect the wallet, but because we want to check if the users were connected in a previous session. So we just create an instance of the wallet. Here you can see the options that I was talking about before. So the most basic options that you have to pass to the Beacon wallet instance is the name of your application. And that's the name that your users are going to see when they are asked to sign the operation. And this property here, preferred network, it's a property that you have to set to be able to use Kukai. So you just set it, and yeah, one thing also that if you would like to use some value, some properties, or some types, from the Beacon SDK, you don't have. As you can see here, I didn't import the Beacon SDK. You can just directly use it because Taquito, the Beacon wallet library from Taquito, is going to use this one under the hood. I told you it's just a wrapper, so it's already available there. So you don't have to import it to install it a second time. It's already there. You can just import it. And here we're going to import the network type enum. And we're going to use it to set the preferred network to GranadaNet. And once the wallet is created, we're going to check if the users were connected before. So we use that get active account method, and Taquito is going to look for it. There's some data that are saved in the local storage by the Beacon SDK. And if there is an active account, if the user was connected before, we can just update the state of the application. And in that case, the user is going to be automatically connected, and they don't have to reconnect their wallet. But of course, if it's the first time that the user comes to the application, we're going to provide a button. And when you click on the button, you're going to be able to connect your wallet. So connecting the wallet is also very easy. When you have the instance of the wallet, there's a method that's called request permissions, where you have to pass some the network you want to be connected to and the node you want to connect to. That's the moment where the user is going to see the pop-up and they can choose the wallet that they want to be connected with. And one step that's very important and that I forget very often, but you shouldn't, is to save the instance of the wallet. To pass the instance of the wallet to the set wallet provider. So Taquito is going to use it to sign transactions. And you can also get the address of the user with that method, the get pkh for public key hash of the wallet, of the instance of the wallet. And it's also possible to manually disconnect the wallet. So you just need to, the client property is going to expose a method that's called destroy. So it's just going to remove a bunch of properties from the local storage when the users come back, they are not going to be connected automatically to their wallet. So that's a few things that you would like to do when the app mount. So you see here in Svelte there's a function like that, on mount. But if you're using React, you can use I think it's use effect that you can use with the second parameter is an empty array, and you can also use exactly the same code like this one. So it's cross framework. You don't need to worry about that. And okay, what I wanted to do. Okay, you don't see the screen sharing. Okay, what we're going to do quickly is to send a transaction to the entry point that I showed you. So it's going to be only possible when the users are connected. So here we're going to add another button, and we're going to call it like send transaction. On click, send transaction. And you're going to see how simple it is to send a transaction with Taquito. It's going to take like 3 minutes. We create a new send transaction. So it's going to be a promise, because we have to wait for the confirmation from the blockchain. And let's do. If you remember from the slideshow, the first thing to do is to create the contract abstraction, so we can have access to different kind of properties from the contract. So it's Tezos, wallet, at, and the contract address is here. So we have it here. So here already we have access to different stuff from the contract. And now just to send the operation, we're just going to call. So we just use the contract. There's a property called methods. And then all the entry points are going to be here. So the entry point was simple param, I think. And let's put 5 and then send. And that's it. No, like it's going effectively to send the transaction to the network. And now you just have to await. So you use the operation block, the operation that Taquito is going to return here. And as you can see, there's a confirmation method, and we're just going to wait for one confirmation. And yeah, maybe we can tweak it a little bit. Like I would like to see the hash. So we can do like that. We go here. Maybe here we can, if there's a hash, we can just display it. So operation hash. Yeah, I think that's going to be enough. So we can, you're going to see that Taquito returns the hash, so operation hash, so it's up, and the operation hash is here. So it's already like handy and it's there. You know, it's very easy to get all those all this information that that you would need in your app. Okay. So now I'm going to switch to to the browser. Sorry. Which one is it? Okay, hopefully it's going to work. It's pretty simple. So, okay, so you can see that your app here is not connected. And so that's the step where you request permissions and you have a different list, a list of different wallets. So we're going to use Temple. I think you don't see that, but I just connected Temple. And okay, so here you see you have a disconnect button and you have the send transaction. Okay, we click on send transaction. Okay, so it's switching windows to confirm the transaction. But okay, so you see we already got the operation hash. So it's on Granada.net, so it shouldn't take too long to bake the operation. So you remember we had 4 in the storage. We just passed 5, so we expect to have 9. It shouldn't take more than 30 seconds. Let's just wait a little bit. Hopefully it's going to work. When I tested it, it worked faster than that, but of course it may not work. So maybe let's have a quick look at the operation hash. Okay. Maybe. Okay, so I think there may be a problem with Better Call Dev because it doesn't show the operation hash, so I don't know what's happening. I'm very sorry that it doesn't update. But yeah, if we got the operation hash, it means that it probably worked, or if the operation was backtracked, it should tell me that it didn't work. But let's just wait another 10 seconds. And okay, it's here. Okay, good. Okay, and you can see that the contract was updated and the simple property went from 4 to 9. So you saw that it was like really simple to forge a transaction with Taquito. We just had to create the contract abstraction and then just call like 2 or 3 methods, and that's it. No, like you effectively modify the storage of a smart contract in 2 or 3 lines of code using Taquito. So that was it for the live coding. Maybe if anyone has any question before we finish.
Is Grandanet a testnet?
Sorry?
Is Grandanet a testnet?
Yeah, it's a testnet. Yeah. Are there any other questions? No, but I think we're done. If there are no more questions.
I think we can wind up the session. Thank you so much, Cloud, for taking up the session. And thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.